I'm going to demonstrate how to deal with incorrectly combined records in the family tree system. These are records that came into family tree as a single record containing data that applies to more than one separate, unique individual person. The solution is to manually separate the unique individuals into separate family tree records so each person has his or her own record. For the sake of this example, I'm working in Sandbox and I've just created a sample family that contains an incorrectly combined record. For this example, let's suppose I've researched my family back to this Robert Cario. I know everything is accurate up to Robert Cario. The generation after Robert Cario, I'm seeing Jens Hansen, and then for grandparents, I'm seeing William Cario again. This Jens Hansen record looks a little suspicious to me. Also, if I place my mouse on Jens's name, I see that there are multiple wives attached to him and multiple parents. And I can click on either of these tabs that are connected here, and it will show me the actual names of those persons. So I'm seeing that there are two sets of parents here. So this is something I want to investigate and make sure that it's accurate. I now want to look at this Jens Hansen record because I've researched everything back to him. I know it's correct to this point. So I'm going to click on his name, and then I'm going to click on the word person right here on this summary screen that pops up, and I'm going to examine his detail screen in more detail. As I look at this, I see a birth and death date that really are not possible. Nobody born in 1755 in Albany would die in 1883 in Denmark. Also, as I look at the other information section, I see that there are alternate names that vary drastically. This alternate information section is one of the best clues that I'm going to have that there are incorrectly combined records. When I'm seeing various names that really disagree with each other, it's a good clue that I'm looking at an incorrectly combined record. Also, as I come down here, I'm seeing marriage dates that really just are not possible for a single person to have been married in these years. And as I look at the parents, I have these relationships that he couldn't have had the two sets of parents in this case. If I click on this little tab here, it will open up and show me multiple children listed under each of these relationship screens. I can click here and I can see that there are multiple children listed under this marriage and under the marriage to Lydia Matthews. It appears then that this record is representing two completely different men. Before I go any further though, I want to just take a minute and come look at this latest changes box. When I click show all, it will pull up the change history. I want to look at this to make sure that the record hasn't been merged within the family tree system. If it simply got merged incorrectly, then it's very easy to just restore or unmerge the record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through this change history, and I'm looking for a bright green box that says merge on it that will appear around some of this information. And what I want to do is keep coming down, and I want to keep hitting more so that I go all the way back to the beginning of the record and look at the entire change history. So I just want to do that till I get to the very beginning of the record. And when I get down here, you notice that the more isn't appearing. That means I'm here at the beginning of the record. So I've made it to the beginning. There were no merge boxes. I'm now convinced that the record came into Family Tree as an incorrectly combined record. I'm going to click on the name Jens Hansen here at the top of the page to return to his record. At this point, I now need to do some research. I need to set the family tree aside for a minute and learn more about who Robert Cario's real father is. I know my pedigree is accurate back to Robert Cario. I need to learn what the next generation should look like. Using this link at the top of the screen that says search will give me access to the historical records that may contain original sources that help me recognize information about Robert's father, but also I can access genealogies. A lot of the data in genealogies was actually used to originally create Family Tree. So when I go to genealogies, I can look at ancestral file and the pedigree resource file. I can also, from this search section, access the International Genealogical Index. These databases can help me recognize what original information existed about Robert Cario's father before it was incorrectly combined into Family Tree. Once I've completed my research, I want to create a new record for my ancestor Robert Cario's father. I do this by using one of the drop-down menus next to either tree or person. Either one will work. I click on it, and at the very bottom of this list it brings up, there's a link that says Add Unconnected Person, and I want to click that. I then want to type in all the information I've learned about Robert Cario's father. Let's suppose that I learned his name was Thomas Cario, that I found he was born 1 June 1755 in Albany, New York. So I'm just going to put that information in. If I was able to learn a death date for him, I could go ahead and enter that in. And then I'm going to hit continue and actually create a new record. I now have a clean record for Robert Cario's father. However, I need to get the information that belongs to him off of the Jens Hansen record. He needs to have his family relationships attached to him. So I next want to return to the Jens Hansen record, and the easiest way to do this is really to use this drop-down menu next to person and select Jens's name off that list. But before I go, I want to take note of this person identifier number. It appears here at the top of the screen by his name, and it appears down in the family member section. I just want to write down KD9X6ZM because that number is unique to this Thomas Cario record and will let me return quickly to the Thomas Cario record or recognize that record as I need to. So I'm going to come to Jens Hansen here on my list and click on his name, and it will open the Jens Hansen record. Now as I come down the Jens Hansen record, I'm noticing this birth date. I've already decided it doesn't belong to Jens Hansen. It belongs to Thomas Cario. So I want to go ahead and delete that from the Jens Hansen record, and I'm going to say this data comes from an incorrect combine. A new record has been created for Thomas Cario at KD9X6ZM. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete that birth date that belongs to Thomas Cario. As I keep looking down the list, I'm seeing this death date. I agree that can be Jens Hansen's death date. It's definitely not my Thomas Cario's death date. So then when I get to the other information section, I want to get rid of Thomas Cario's name from here. I basically want to leave no trace that Thomas Cario was ever part of this record. So this was caused by an incorrectly combined record situation. A new record exists for Thomas Cario at KD9X6ZN. And I'm going to delete that. When I get to the family member section, there's quite a bit of cleaning up I need to do here. These children, I've decided in my research, are not part of the Cario family, but these children down here are part of the Cario family. So I also need to take Jens Hansen out of the Cario family, I need to take Jens Hansen out of the Cario family, and he's already appearing in the Hansen family, but I need to get my new Thomas Cario record added into the Cario family. So first I'm going to add Thomas Cario's new record to his parents' family. All I need to do is click Add Child, and then I'm going to click Find by ID Number, and I'm going to type in that ID number that I just wrote down for my new record, and click Find, and it should be the only result that comes up on my search list, and I'm going to click Select. I now am taken to the Thomas Cario record, and when I come down here, I see he is being listed with his correct parents. But notice the old incorrect combined record is still being listed in this family. So I just need to click Edit Parents next to Jens Hansen's name. And I am given an option here on the right that says Delete Relationship. I want to delete that relationship, and for a reason I'm going to say this relationship was caused by incorrectly combined records. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and click that I've reviewed it and click delete. That will take Jens Hansen out of the Cario family. I then need to keep working from the Jens Hansen record. So I click on Jens Hansen's name. I now need to come down and remove Thomas Cario's children from the Jens Hansen family and get them moved over so they're listed as children of Thomas Cario. So I'm going to click Edit Parents, and in my research I've decided that Lydia Matthews is Thomas's wife and the mother of his children. So I just need to click Edit Parents, and I'm taken to the relationship screen, and I'm simply going to click on the name Jens Hansen, and I'm going to click Change. And then I'm going to find by ID number, and I'm going to type in the ID number I have for Thomas Cario and click Find. Again, it should be the only thing that comes up on my search results. I can hit Select. I can say Correcting Incorrectly Combined Records and click Change. I now see that Thomas Cario is being listed as Robert's father. I then want to get back to that Jens Hansen record, and the easiest way to do that is to either use this drop-down menu and select Jens's name, or I can just use my back button and it should take me right back to Jens's record. So I'm going to do the same thing for this other child. I click Edit Parents. I click the father's name. I click Change. I find by ID number. I type in KD9X6ZM and I click Find. And I select Thomas Cario off the list. Correcting Incorrectly Combined Records. And change it. And I see that Jens Hansen's name changes to Thomas Cario. Now I still need to fix the wife, so again I want to return to that Jens Hansen record because Lydia Matthews is still being listed as the wife of Jens Hansen, married in 1777. So all I need to do is click Edit Couple, and then I want to click the husband's name, so I click Jens Hansen, I click Change, and again I use that Find by ID number, and I type in KD9X6ZM and click Find, and he should come up on my list. I'll click Select, and again, Correcting Incorrectly Combined Records. And I click Change. And my screen will change to show Thomas Cario here instead of Jens Hansen. So I'm going to return to my Jens Hansen record one more time, and I'm just going to look it over and make sure that there's nothing on this record that makes me think of Thomas Cario. If I'm down here in the sources, I may find sources that need to be moved over to my new record that I've created. There may be notes that need to be moved over. All I would want to do is delete a note about Thomas from this page and add the new note onto my Thomas Cario's new record. So I want to review that, and then I should also go review my new Thomas Cario record. And here I have him, and I'm seeing that he has the correct wife, the correct children, and the correct parents. So I now have a clean pedigree. When I view my tree, looking at Robert Cario, I no longer see that Jens Hansen generation in there. I may want to go to my Thomas Cario record, and on the details screen I can click Possible Duplicates and just check and make sure that the Jens Hansen record is not pulling up as a possible duplicate. It looks like there is a duplicate here. It's because I'm working in Sandbox and I've been playing around here. But if it's not a match, I can declare it not a match. If it is a match, I can go ahead and merge it at this point. This is a good time to do your merging because you now have a totally clean record that you're able to work with. So I can check that possible duplicates area. At this point, LDS patrons may also want to come up and reserve the ordinances that are now showing available. Often in the case of incorrectly combined records ordinances were completed and they are still attached to the incorrectly combined record. The programmers are working on the programming necessary in order to move them from the incorrectly combined record over to the newly created record, but that's still forthcoming. So in the meantime, LDS patrons may choose to reserve the ordinances and simply let them wait for the technology to become available to show them as completed.